on beat, girl. You're not going with the song.
Before I actually start to talk about my topic today, I just want to make sure that no one is just listening to this just to get offended. Because nowadays, no one can speak their mind freely without getting criticized and being told,
That's not true.
or you're so wrong. It's just my opinion on this topic, and I can say whatever I want to say. And if you don't like what I say, then just don't listen to my podcast, and just like tune into someone else's podcast. And now to start my actual podcast, I would like to say that everyone has a different perception or conception of the word normal. Due to this, everyone around the world has some kind of problem that has to do with either their self-image or someone else's. Hi, my name's Gethsemane, and you're tuning into Gethsemane's Thoughts. Today's episode is about how the word normal has one common pattern amongst the human race. The pattern that I'm talking about is how people everywhere put themselves down, such as beating themselves up, or like telling themselves that they're not good enough, or that they should do this or they should do that, because their life isn't normal, or their body isn't normal, or they just simply aren't normal. This can also go the other way. People look at someone, it could be someone like a complete stranger out on the street or like at school or anywhere really, and say that they aren't normal, which like up to their face. Like that's what happens around the world nowadays, which makes that which basically what they're doing is basically bringing that person down for no actual reason besides them not looking the way that they want them to look, you know? The word normal gives a person a certain expectation that they must achieve, or else they are just a disappointment. Now, this is such a high expectation that causes for people to want to do anything in their power just to like accomplish this. And there isn't any real hardcore evidence that each person has to do a certain thing in their life. The expectation as like humans is like up here, but in reality there is no expectation. Everyone is different in their own ways, which means that we all take different paths in lives, and you should be able to live your life the way you want to live without being criticized. Like that's all everyone wants. And like by telling someone blank normal, like for example, your feet aren't normal, they're too big, it ruins their whole perception of life. Like they could really be having the best day of their lives, and then out of nowhere you just say, oh, your feet aren't normal. Like no one has regular feet. Like that's why there are such different sizes of shoes, so they could fit that specific person, or just anything really. And like when it comes to the word normal, people would usually defend that word when it comes to like any medical topics. They will say it is necessary for someone to be at the normal so they are able to live a healthy and stay alive. What I want to I totally agree with that statement, because it can't telling someone that they aren't where they're supposed to be, which is in other words normal, which basically telling them that they aren't normal, which I don't want to say the word normal because that's the reason why I'm making this whole podcast. But people will say that the word normal will save someone's life. Yes, it can, because when someone is overweight, you have to tell them that, you have to lose a little bit weight because you might die because of it. Or when someone is too skinny, you can say that isn't normal for someone because you are too underweight, which means that you aren't gonna live a normal life. This can diminish that person because someone can be really skinny. But my point is that when you tell someone that they aren't normal, even though like there is no normal, they start to actually believe that they have something wrong with them. And then when they actually start having something wrong with them because you told them that they aren't normal, that person who told them that they aren't normal will say, "See, I told you so." Like the only reason why that they aren't like healthy is because you told them that they aren't healthy, even though they were. Just because they didn't live up to your expectations. Like it would have never happened if that person never listened to the other person diminishing them, saying that they aren't normal. And when I was researching the effects of the word normal, that like what happens to someone, I found a social research from John Dupre that, and he said science is on the whole concerned with generalizations. This immediately raises a problem. Human behavior is, on the face of it, enormously diverse. Why should we expect there to be any very interesting generalizations about it? Nothing is normal about the human race, and this is due to how times are changing and how the DNA in our bodies makes each and every one of us so different, and which makes it even harder to pinpoint what is normal amongst like 7 billion people in the world. Case studies or social experiments, if that's what you want to call them, take like literal years to develop because there are so many people, and each and every one of us is so different. And yes, there are a bunch of similarities that we have with one another, but it does not mean that it is normal. Like similarities does not mean that it's normal because there are differences. It's not fair to say, it's not fair to everyone around the world to say that something is normal just because a lot of people have it in common. Like some people think that the normal height is like for women is like 5'3". I'm 4'9". So basically people might think, oh, she isn't normal. Like there are thousands of people around the world who are beating themselves up because they don't have the same features as a mass majority of other people. Like, for example, women around the world are starting to want a big butt, big boobs, nice hair, normal height, or even like a smaller waist, just because models are starting to look like that nowadays. Which makes them, is influencing like women's mindsets, thinking that that's how they have to look, which makes makes them have like that great of an urge to be like them. And for men in the world, it's having a nice hairline, nice haircut, a good fit, and the baddest girl being tall and muscular. All of these expectations are so fake. Like no men, no one is the same. Like everyone is different, so why are we saying that it isn't normal for this or to this or about that? Like this, it doesn't make sense to say that something is normal when nothing in this world is normal. Due to the different DNA that each and every one of us has, it is impossible to normalize something. Each and every one of us has a different genetic sequence with different patterns of nucleotides. This shows how like just like by saying like just by women having the mindset that they have to look like that model, it's showing how our society is creating an unrealistic idea that in order to be beautiful and normal, you need to have these features. And without these features, you are considered a nobody and not good enough. The etymology of the word normal is conforming to common standards or established order or usage regular, usual. The etymology of this word is basically contradicting what I said earlier, kind of, but also explaining my point. Like that the etymology of the word normal is mainly targeting things that can be consistent, such as like plants, for example, because plants are not like animals and humans. They don't have brains. So when it comes to plants and anything related to it, it is absolutely valid for someone to use the word normal. Because even though there are a variety of plants, they don't have a mind of their own. They're plants, for God's sake. Like, they're not humans. It's not like they can just up and walk among us and start bullying other plants just because it doesn't look like them. All plants really do is produce oxygen and photosynthesis, nothing else. It's not like plants can tell other plants,
You need to stop producing yellow petals and start producing red petals,
Karen. Plants hardly ever are faced with constant challenges. Plants are hardly ever asking themselves what they should wear today, or like what other plants think about themselves. Plants do not go through the hardships and challenges that humans do. Since plants don't have a brain, they don't think, feel, care about anything. They can't even speak. They don't have a heart. They don't have organs. They don't have limbs. Leaves don't count. Like, they don't have feet. They don't have toes. Roots don't count. And like, there is such a diversity with humans that it is constant. That is constant. Meanwhile, plants just grow the same and do the same thing over and over. And for these reasons, it is valid for someone to say that something is normal when it comes to plants, but it isn't when it comes to humans because of the huge diversity that we have over plants. Humans are living things that have to deal with, sorry for the lack of a better word, Miss Magdaleno, everyone's bullshit. Us humans have to do so many things at once, like keep our heart beating while talking. When I was still researching this topic, I found a case study by Murray Sidman that was titled Normal Sources of Pathological Behavior, and the first sentence that you will read is, animal experimentation shows that certain combinations of adaptive responses can result in non-adaptive behavior. I'm not going to get to the point or the topic of animal experimentation because that's a whole other podcast. But the part I want to get to is about this case study and how it shows that when an organism is presented with a situation that should be normal, or in other words, help them, it actually makes them get worse. And this is exactly what happens to human beings in real life. The day that we enter this earth, we are automatically judged by so many people. There are people calling us ugly when we are barely days old just because we don't live up to their beauty expectations. And the more we grow up, the more we are put into situations that are supposed to be normal and help us grow as people and make us smarter. But in the end, they just make us have more anxiety and depression and stress and paranoia and so many other things, such as school. The more we get into school and go through the years, the more like our mindset starts changing, and the more our body starts changing, and the more we're second guessing ourselves because everyone is saying, oh, you're not normal because your grades aren't this, or you're not smart enough, like stuff like that. Like, the word normal shouldn't be used to diminish other people. It shouldn't be like used to tell people that they aren't this or they aren't that. Like, that's the expectation that, well, we like aren't living up to. Like, there shouldn't even be an expectation. So thank you. That is my rant, and thank you for watching my podcast. I wanted to add one more thing, and that thing was like how we should change the way we say things to each other, and like that way is by like not saying the word normal as something that is diminishing someone. Because me personally, I usually tell myself that, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. It's not normal for me to do this. It's not normal for me to do that. But what is normal? Nothing is normal. So the way that we should change this whole spectrum of the word normal is by not even having an expectation to begin with. Like, yes, it's nice to set goals for you and stuff like that, but overall, you shouldn't beat yourself up about it if you don't get to it. If you don't look like this, if you don't look like that, if you don't act like this, if you don't act like that, like, that's how we should stop changing it. Like, that's how we should start changing it. I'm sorry. But, like, overall, we just should stop talking about how normal this and normal that, because nothing is normal in this era of time. In this world, nothing is normal. Everything is changing. So why are we like setting all of these expectations when they're not even real? Now, thank you for watching my podcast. Hope to see you next project.